Hello there. We are starting this podcast here with the one and only Eric Hileman of Mage Mojo fame. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
Doing good. So right off the bat, we got to talk about what are you doing over at the beach, man? What's going on here? For those that
just
are
hanging out,
watching
in
the
the Hamptons with all my rich friends. We left Manhattan to our second homes.
As one does.
Nah, it's just a really cool green screen, man. Being stuck inside. Got all I had a lot of the toys already just because we're always on remote.
Yeah.
And we're doing video a lot. So it's important to have good quality equipment.
Yeah.
And we started doing Load in the Loop with Yvonne, the Magento Performance podcast or YouTube channel. It's more of a YouTube channel than
it's
a
like,
podcast,
what do you
really.
call it? Like,
I don't know.
How's that going?
Really.
How's that going, by the way?
It's good. We have a really fun time with it. So we help a lot of customers out. We review their stores. We find a lot of optimizations.
A lot of loads in the loop.
Yeah, really. A lot of load in the loops. We really do. And we've had quite a few extension vendors reach out to us and say like, oh, hey, thanks. Or can you give us more information on that? And then, oh, we fixed that. Can you re-review it? And so it's been cool. We not only help our customers, but I think we're doing a little bit to improve the extension quality, the quality of extensions. They're all on notice now.
Yeah.
We're watching them.
Dude, I think it's such a brilliant concept for a podcast. Like you're hitting
Yvonne's brilliant.
Yeah, he's been deep in performance optimization stuff forever. And I love I watched, I think I gotta check some of your latest ones, but I watched the first or second episode, and you're hitting so many birds with one stone because you're like solving real world customer problems, and it's also like good content, and like you said, it's useful to the extension vendors and stuff like that, and also like it's super unique because it shows that like you yourself as the CEO of a company are like digging into the code,
I do. I understand most of it. I mean, he's the brilliant one and he really understands it. So I kind of follow along and ask some dumb questions here and there. You gotta have that co-host, and then he explains a lot, but I learn a lot from it.
Yeah.
And so,
but like a CEO doing a deep dive on code level stuff is like pretty unique,
Hey man, I used to code. Like I wrote our original billing system.
No, I know.
Our original
but like
Magento 1.7.
Like even
not so much anymore.
Yeah, even people that used to code, like they forget how to code, and I still think it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it's so a lot of people are like, oh, okay, you're the CEO of a company, which I mean, we have like 40 people. So I kind of laugh, like, how much of a CEO can you really be of a 40-person company?
I mean, that's a CEO in my book.
I know that my job is to make decisions and to ensure that people are working on what they should be and that they have everything they need. But at the same time, I don't ever want to be completely disconnected from the customer. So I do. Like all of our tickets, they have an escalate to management link in it. I'm on that list.
Oh, that's cool.
I read all of those. Like I review support tickets, partner channels. I think it's important to always be connected to the customer, and understanding the code and Magento is a good way to do that, I think.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. So let's see, man. So, this is kind of part of a series on remote work. Which, I've long been interested in, and you guys have been remote for a long time, and it's something that's gone mainstream all out of nowhere with what's going on in the world.
Dude, right before this, we were talking to an agency, a global elite partner, and they were like, the number one reason we can't move forward with you, and you were at the top two, and we chose the other one because you're remote and they aren't.
That's hilarious.
That's the weirdest thing, that people still That's an advantage in my book. I think being able to work remotely and hire and manage global teams is an advantage. And especially now, it really, I think, has become one for sure now that everybody's kind of forced to be remote.
Yeah.
So the attitudes are shifting.
Yeah.
Attitudes have shifted a lot.
Yeah. And it's like there's a learning curve for remote. So the people that have experience with it, whether you're whatever kind of company you are, if you're an agency, if you rely on hiring people, if you whatever kind of company you are, if you have that experience, you have a real advantage, and everybody's going to get there eventually. Well, a lot of people are going to get there eventually, but it takes time. I mean, it takes a matter of years to really learn, because initially you just go like, oh, we're just going to replicate the office everywhere else. And
no.
Yeah,
no.
And then you realize,
no. It does take time. I see that. I see people on Twitter like saying things about it and talking about it, and I hear it on podcasts, and some of it I'm thinking, oh wow, I took that for granted. And then other things I'm thinking, no, that's just wrong. Like this is actually, it works differently, or it is an advantage if you use it this certain way, or so it's been really interesting to hear people newly coming into remote work and the struggles that they had with it. But I'm also deep down in it, so I never see a lot of that. So I'll do my best to talk about things and hopefully explain them as best I can. But I've been in it for so long, I take a lot of that for granted.
Totally. Yeah, I think, yeah, you do start to take a lot of things for granted, and even just being able to work remotely, like, is so amazing. But it's like I immediately, like if you start talking about remote, I'm immediately talking about the problems, the things that can go wrong, the things that suck about it, the isolation, and it's like, well, wait a minute, this is kind of amazing that we can work remotely in the first place. So
yeah, it is. Technology's come a long way, man. When we started, like, we were, I think, Skype actually. We didn't even have it was like two of us, Martin and I. We didn't have a real chat. Like, we had just a Skype, him and I. And then as we brought a couple people in, I think we created a group chat in Skype. And now, like, I don't know how we survive without Slack. Like, it's just the communication center of everything. Like, it's the heart of our business. And Zoom video. We were so frustrated with Google Meet. I hate Hangouts. Like, I hate them so much because they were just horrible in the beginning. But now you got great tools.
Yeah.
Great tools.
Dude, let's dive into this, man. I want to talk through all of this stuff, dude. Like,
okay.
I don't even know where to start. I know that, feel free to take it anywhere you want. But
yeah,
like,
take it from the top. We'll work down through it. It's if we can spend as much time or as little time. Keen's talking about the outline I sent of
you got a
discussion
good outline in here. I'm going to jump around a little bit and just feel free to redirect it or whatever. But like I'm real curious. I'm real curious about asynchronous versus synchronous work. I think that's one of the sort of fundamental shifts. Now, as a hosting company, there's a lot of stuff that has to be synchronous because of the nature of the company. That I would generally say, let's make as much as possible or at least in terms of support related stuff. And I'm generally pushing as hard as I can to make as much asynchronous as possible within a company, almost virtually everything. Like, I think Basecamp's, do you follow Basecamp at all? Kind of their philosophy and
I've
stuff.
Read some of their books. Yeah.
Like, I think they're probably all virtually 100% asynchronous. That's like a one extreme. Like Slack is so massively popular that there's kind of a little bit of a backlash against it now. For one, just because it's so popular. And for two, because people are always getting notifications left and right, whether or not they need them.
A big part of this outline that I wanted to talk about. You can just ping yourself. Your team can just ping itself to death in Slack, and you can just derail yourself.
Death completely. By ping. Death by 1,000 pings.
It is. It is. No,
Show
it
title.
really is, because you can just touch anyone at any time and distract them, disrupt them. People can get into a conversation and quickly change design directions, or just like technical decisions, design decisions. Like they will just have conversations and go off in different directions that were not what management discussed previously. So you've got to control it. Like you really have to control it. So chat is the heart. How you set up your channels is critical.
It's clutch.
So
it's key.
I compare that to like the chart of accounts on your accounting and how you categorize all of your expenses.
That's a really interesting comparison.
So you can start with a basic outline. Like everybody has some basic stuff, but for you and your business, and even as your business grows and changes sizes or shifts markets, it's changing. You need to keep it updated and shift with it, but you need to categorize all that. We have channels that are just for teams, just for team conversations where the teams talk to each other, and those are discussion type channels. We have informational type channels where it's just status messages. For example, it could be systems sending in notifications from different system monitors and governors, or external status pages. Or it could just be the end of support shift change log where they have the end of shift notes, or our company change log,
Mm-hmm.
We also
you have a company change log channel.
Yes, we do. We keep our change log in Slack. We have a public one in our KB where we post it, but when it actually happens, everything that gets changed, even if it's updating a KB article, gets logged in the change log channel.
So it's more than
everyone can see it.
It's more than like a code based change log or a product change log. It's like
it could be
your entire
code,
could be policy or whatever for your company.
Product. It could be policy.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. That's really cool.
It could just be what happened on the support shift logs are like what happened last night, but the global change log is like we blocked a bot globally, it goes in there. We released a new feature, it goes in there. Mm-hmm.
There's a whole world of use cases that open up when it makes sense to pay for Slack, right, within a company environment. Like if you're in a Slack that's more of a community one that's free, and then you've got the limit on the number of records, like the idea,
you don't want to go there, do you?
Yeah.
Everybody who's on Twitter follows us knows what
we're talking about. Yeah, like that's an interesting, because like you say Slack as if it's the same. Everybody talks about Slack as if everybody is doing this, as if it's the same thing to everybody, and it's like it can be so many different things. Like I don't like the idea of it as a company changelog is like, whoa, dude, like
we have a change log. We have discussion channels for teams. We have groups like management channels for shift leads, management levels, different management levels, or we're also. Or topics. So we have some general runs. Like we have a general channel where you can just post like industry related news. We have a random channel that's full of everything, like memes, politics.
Gotta have that. Yeah, gotta have the meme channel.
The meme channel, the GIF channel. I think every channel is a GIF channel. We love the /Jiffy command, man. We're throwing GIFs everywhere.
Yeah. Are you a GIF? Team GIF?
I am Team GIF.
We've had such a good relationship.
Tabs over spaces guy too.
We've had such a good relationship for so many years, and I find out you're Team GIF. God.
I'm not sure. I've just always in my head pronounced it that way. And I don't know.
Fair enough.
So GIFs. We have a GIF channel.
Oh, you're speaking my language. All right. That's
where we give the gift of gifts to one another.
That's how you know you're a good CEO. You speak the language of the person you're talking to.
I can adapt to whoever I'm talking to. That's true. The communication flows. You have to categorize. You have to keep a consistent flow. because you can, like, conversations go crazy. They go crazy. They get missed. You'll have that a lot. You'll have, if you don't have precise limits and rails on a channel, people come in and do all kinds of crazy stuff, man. Can we swear on this? Or are we going to get
Yeah.
censored if I say?
Go nuts, man.
Okay. All right, cool.
Go nuts.
People do all kinds of crazy shit. Like, they'll come into a channel and somebody will be talking about something. They'll talk about something else, derail the conversation.
Yeah.
Speaking, moving on to like asynchronous part of that, they'll come in and they'll have a discussion and somebody will say something like, I saw this thing happening, and they'll just throw it out into the ether. You have to have delegation and responsibility. Like, balls will drop everywhere if you don't at somebody specifically. So I'm always like, okay, who are you talking to? Who are you talking to? Always make sure you are addressing somebody, because inevitably they will come back and they will say, well, I told you in this channel, like, and with history, that's cool. Like, you can search that and you can find that. But if you didn't address it, if you didn't take that ball and stick it into somebody else's hands, it drops, and all, and everything around that drops. So you need to make sure that you always like at people. So we at people a lot, specifically who you're talking to, that way. And then it's the next person's responsibility to pick it up and move forward with it.
Yeah. Dude, I feel like you could write a book on your like Slack policy, or like an epic blog, but there's probably a bunch of those out there, like how we use Slack kind of a thing. But like,
they're probably individual. I think there's probably stuff we do that would be unique.
Yeah.
And that's your company too. Like, what works for us may not work for you. Like, I have a policy of no DMs. No
Really?
DMs. If you want to talk about personal stuff, if you're talking personal stuff, that's okay. That's fine. But if it's business related, no DMs. We learned that the hard way, because people, again, they'll go off, they'll have private conversations, then their understanding of something changes from the group's understanding, their design decisions, their choices, it all. Now they have knowledge that the rest of us doesn't have. But again, the beautiful part of chat is everybody can see it. So now if you're in a channel and people are talking, others can come in and learn from it. So our T1 has access to T2 channels. They can learn from T2. T2 and T1 have access to the dev team.
T1 and T2, those are your levels of technical support?
Yeah. So we do have we got to the point where we did need to split T1 and T2. So T2 is basically like working on longer running issues. So if something takes more investigation and they have a higher level of access credentials into the systems and training to work more kind of into like the Docker and Kubernetes services type side of things, they can get into AWS and look more deeper into the systems than like T1 can. But they can see, so they learn. So they read the other channels, they see what's going on, they can share knowledge, and they can I think they can learn a lot that way. So when we have new people come in, they have a whole history, they have good viz into the company, all the different areas of it, so they can understand what's going on. And I think pretty much everybody has a 360-degree view of the company through Slack.
Dude, you're all about the 360 degrees.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think it's good visibility, but again, you have to really control it.
Right.
Chat will kill you.
Right.
Chat, especially asynchronous chat, balls will drop, people go off the rails.
Yeah.
Waste time.
Yeah.
Conversations get mixed up.
In terms of new people starting, like, can you pretty much throw them at the Slack, and do they just jump in and like, because when people are new, they'll have a tendency to ask questions because just human nature, and most companies don't have really good documentation to kind of throw you at. But it sounds like you guys are pretty thoughtful around that. So like, can people just jump in and just learn a ton?
Anyone over T1 can. Anybody who's on a dev team or an executive level or T2 can jump in and get running through Slack. Yeah.
Do they just like spend a week just reading the Slack straight, like 8 hours a day, just matrix it?
Yeah, it's the first thing we do.
Yeah.
It's the first thing we do is when they come in, that's like first access they get, and then we'll bring them in and talk to them and show them the channels, get them introduced, and then they take off running from there.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, we have pretty good KB internal documentation. It's always never enough. It's always never what I want it to be, but it's pretty good. So they can learn from that. But just being able to see other people communicate and talk through problems, through solutions. And I think that really helps get people oriented around the company.
Yeah. That's awesome. So in terms of synchronous versus asynchronous, let's say that I'm a T2 working on a longer running problem. It's not a initial support response where I need a 15-minute turnaround. And I have a question and I pop in and I ask somebody a question. Let me ask you about notifications, right? Are you a fan of, I ask you a question as another T2 or a T3? Does a notification pop up for you, or is it more asynchronous where maybe you get back to it within a few hours when maybe your head's down on some other problem? How do you deal with the coordination of that scenario, like getting the quick answer versus allowing each person to focus for a few hours at a time in the zone and like in a flow state kind of a deal?
Yeah, so this is one of the big reasons why I'm a huge fan of meetings.
Oh yeah, we got to talk about
move
this.
Into that one. Yeah, that's another controversial one.
We should have opened it up with that. Yeah.
Maybe, man. That's the reason I'm big on meetings, because you have to control when people talk about something, because they will talk about stuff constantly in Slack. Especially like the more tech they are, they love to just talk. They'll talk about stuff even if it's not related to them, just because they're interested in it. And so what we do is we hold, so everybody knows to buffer what types of conversations for the meetings. I'm really, really big on meetings. So I'm like, meetings are the time for synchronous communication. Mm-hmm. All the rest of the time is asynchronous communication.
Nice.
If there's an emergency incident, or you need to get somebody's attention quickly, you can DM them and say, hey, I need your help with this.
Just as a ping, just purely as a ping.
Just as a ping.
No information. Like the information has to exist elsewhere, but the ping. So everybody needs to have their notifications on for direct messages, basically.
Yes. Yeah. So they know, okay, this is critical. It's synchronous. I need to pay attention to it. Moving up to a higher level, though, whoever creates the one ring to rule them all of communications and pings and notifications is going to make a mega bucks, man. Like if you had one program that could corral all your notifications from everything and you could classify them, there's a huge market for that. Dude, I would love that.
Did you see texts.com?
No.
Dude, no. So I hate to interrupt your flow, but you have to just pull up texts.com, texts.com. I saw this just the other day. And
someone was just asking me for this, a teacher, because they were text messaging all their students individually, their parents.
Well, actually,
and they were wanting to get.
Yeah. And then I'm realizing that in the, this is just a landing page, which says one inbox, all your texts. But I saw this from a tweet that has a screenshot of the interface where it pulled everything in, which I thought was interesting and I've looked into this a little bit. One of the problems is, a lot of things do not give you API access. So if you want to get SMS access from an Android phone or an iPhone, no API access. You want to get Facebook Messenger, no API access. So I don't know how these guys are doing it, if they've negotiated access, but that's the bottleneck.
I was on Upwork, man, for a year or two ago, and I was trying to find somebody to build this utility on Mac, and it was just, there's so many hurdles to get it. There was something that Mac had recently changed where you couldn't access, because I thought, okay, like your phone's already connected to you could connect your phone to your MacBook or use Microsoft Phone and their app. So you get like a phone into the OS, but can you hook into what's in the OS? And there was, I don't know, on Mac there changed some security setting where you you couldn't get to that, like almost intentionally trying to stop
I'm
people
pretty
from
sure.
taking control of their lives.
I'm
Man,
pretty sure. Yeah.
they all want your attention. They all want your attention. Everybody wants to send you notifications,
Yeah.
and I don't know.
Like if I could
So I
have
guess
like
there's
Gmail style filters for text messages, like I stopped using text messages for a few months because I was so tired of all the noise and stuff like that. And
there's fatigue. It's fatiguing. Like, how do you, like, okay, so you get a text message, you look at it, but you can't work on it now, and you have to respond to it later. Where do you,
and then
what do
you
you do
and
with
you
it? How
can't
do you
even mark as
snooze it?
unread.
Can you,
Like I can't mark my
yeah, you
like
can't mark it as unread. You can't snooze it. Like, yeah, I've gone through like 50 different systems of just tracking tasks, everything you can think of
yeah.
to try to keep it all in order.
Yeah.
And it's still a mess.
Yeah. But you were talking about a DM for escalation or something like that.
Yeah. So Slack is asynchronous. And we do communicate, we do have conversations in it. But mostly around like if guys are working on something and they're like, day-to-day stuff like who's in a dev who broke the dev build, like, or something like that, like, or I'm working on this, is anybody else working on it, kind of thing. I need to touch this, or am I going to affect anyone else if I do this thing I want to do, essentially. But most of it's asynchronous. And so they know, okay, to just check on it every so often. Really, whenever you break your flow, go ahead and check on it and see, unless you get a direct message, and then go pay attention to it right away.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Yeah. I don't know how common that is. I just assume that 80-90% of Slack teams are not so mindful of being asynchronous, and they're just getting notifications.
If you're
left and
not,
right.
it will kill you.
Yeah.
It will kill you.
Yeah.
You will be so distracted. You'll never get into a flow state. You'll just you'll just never get deep thoughts down into things.
Yeah.
So you have to really be careful with that.
Do you have,
and that, again, that's another reason for meetings, because that's like, people want to talk about stuff. It's like, hold this, bring it to the weekly meeting. We'll discuss it there. That's a synchronous time where we communicate synchronously about all the things that we held back in the asynchronous world.
Right. I was gonna say something, and then now I'm back onto the meetings. I have a bunch of meetings related questions. Oh,
everybody hates meetings.
Oh, I was gonna say, before I get to that, I was gonna say, do you have a company wide setting that has notifications other than DM disabled by default, or do people have to go in? Because I normally, when I join a Slack, I always go in and disable a bunch of notifications, and I think most people just don't do that. I don't know if
that's we don't have an official company policy on it. We don't have an official company policy on it. We let people manage that. Yeah, because there's different, like, support's different than T1, or like T1 or T2 is really different between each other. They could be on call, they could be off call. Right. I think what a lot of them are doing are setting their work hours in Slack. So when they're not on schedule, they're not seeing the notifications. Right. So I'm different. Like, I have some channels just muted, other channels not muted. Right. But I'm pretty sure even if the channel's muted and someone at channels you still get hit. So that's another way to really hit people pretty hard, is if you at channel them. That's like, at channel is the nuclear option. Like, if you at channel, you better have a damn good reason.
You're liable to get slapped if you at channel without a good reason. All right, meetings. So I think that, going back to the base camp thing, I think that, like, they're my example of, like, fully asynchronous. And I think that they aren't real big on meetings, and they try to get a lot of things in writing. If you want to think something out, if you want to propose a solution, like, write it up and then get comments and be able to do it in a real thoughtful way. Right. But obviously, people are used to communicating, synchronously, discussing. I mean, we're doing it now. This could have been a blog post, right? Yeah. So,
it's also our contact. Like, we need to build camaraderie. We need to remember that we're all human beings at the other end of these keyboards, and I think meetings really helps with that. Yeah. Like, we have fun. We have fun on the meetings. We joke around, but we're also very serious. Like we know we know there's a person who's going to lead the meeting. We have an agenda. We take notes we review last meeting's notes, and then we add notes to the next one.
Nice.
And we're not just getting together because we said we were going to get together. Like, we have an agenda.
Intentional.
We bring things forward. We go around in order. And we discuss things synchronously. Like, we sit down and we say, okay, like I need to talk to you about this thing. What do you think of that? What do you think of that? We get gather opinions, take votes.
Right.
Like, you could do it asynchronously, but I'm a really big fan of doing it synchronously.
The connection's important. I mean, when you work remotely, connection is the name of the game. Like, finding ways to connect well with other people is, I would say, probably the number one or top three biggest problems in your life. Like, not only, and it bleeds over, right? Because so much of your work life, so much, like, what is it, 80% of people's friends are from the workplace or something like that. So when you don't have that, you're missing out on sort of your primary way of socializing. So, like, that's something I've tried to, struggle to figure out, and so I get that. So yeah, the connection piece is real important. Do you like in terms of like making it fun or whatever, like, how do you do that? Like, is there an initial time where you're just talking, just goofing around before you get into the agenda?
We joke a lot. In the beginning, people show up a few minutes early. We're talking like, hey, how was your weekend? How you doing? Making jokes.
Yeah.
Screwing around with Zoom backgrounds, like sharing stuff. We don't really get into sound effects. I'm really strict. Like, I'm actually really strict with meetings. Like, you have to have good audio equipment. If your headset's fucking up, I'll tell you, you need a new headset. Don't come back until you have one. Like, we have a really low tolerance for screaming babies in the background, things like that, any noises. Because we are remote from the beginning, like, that's considered part of your workspace. You need to make sure that you have a quiet space. And now, granted, sometimes you got to watch the kids or some things happen. We have some tolerance there, but for the most part, like, your audio's got to be crisp. Once we're in the meeting, you got to be paying attention. Don't be drifting off. Don't be doing other things. Like, if I see people chatting who are in a meeting, I'll have something to say about it. Mm-hmm. Focus.
Yeah.
When you're there to do a synchronous thing, to focus, get it done, and move on. Always be on camera. Everybody has to be on camera. People try to hide. People don't be on camera. Like, especially tech people are really shy to be on camera for some reason.
Right.
I don't know. It seems more than others. But also, see, when you're chatting, though, the thing is, there's no enunciation, there's no emotion, there's no eye contact, there's no facial expressions, there's no gestures. We pick up a lot of how people communicate just by looking at them, even if they have their arms crossed or where they're looking or their eyes, so much of it. And you lose that in chat. Mm-hmm. Like, people will tell me, like, yo, man, you're really difficult in chat. And then I talk to you and you just sound like a really nice guy. Like, you're completely different. I'm like, thanks for reminding me. Like, you just be thoughtful when you chat. Remember that there is a human being on the other end. Don't be too rough. And when you come on to meetings and you hear that, I think it diffuses a lot of that shit that can build up from just that raw chat. Chat is raw.
Yeah. It's like you need some of the human contact, and it's not a perfect, it's an approximation of actual physical in-person contact, but it's pretty close. But you need that human contact to sort of keep your relationships, whether it's work, personal, whatever, like, to keep that human relationship, like, to maintain it, or otherwise stuff builds up and stuff. I think the way I was trying to word the question was like, because I think one of the things that GitLab put out a really cool thing on their remote work policy. They're one of the biggest fully remote companies, I think, in the world. I think, what do they have, like, 1,000 people or something like that. I don't know. I might just be.
I'm not sure.
It's big, and they put out like basically a huge their complete remote playbook. And I haven't read. I've read parts of it. It's pretty good. It has a lot of good stuff, and I think that one of the things that I thought was really smart in there was that they intentionally set aside time for informal communication. And I want to say it's like a 15-minute a week, like connect with somebody on the team and just talk about whatever. And it has to be non-work related for that period of time.
We do. So we do team meetings. The meetings are team based by team. We'll do ad hoc meetings if we have a situation that's a one-off that needs further discussion, whether it's an emergency or just a longer running project, or it doesn't require everybody on the meeting. But we also have a bi-weekly State of the Mojo. And on the State of the Mojo, everybody's welcome to come. I go around, talk to the team leads, directors. They give an update, I give an update, and then we open the floor to talk about anything, questions, comments, concerns, and we record it and share it around for the rest of the team. But we have an open time there where we can talk about anything, whether company related or not.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah.
We tried to do a game night.
Okay.
We tried to do a game night. I really wanted a game night to happen. And everybody voted for it. Everybody wanted it, but when it came time to do it, it was really difficult to agree on a day and a time that everybody could do it.
Right.
And then when people ended up not coming to it because life happens.
Yeah.
You know, they get involved in things and it's a low priority. So game night never really took off, but maybe it will in the future.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I think that like you just have to be so intentional about stuff like that, you know, because yeah, it's like hard to schedule and people want to do it, but then it's like, you know, one other thing on my list and it's
one other thing to do.
And it's not exactly the same as like an in-person night, you know, it's like the whole world is.
Well, there's no beer.
Yeah, right.
Free beer, free nachos, or hand sliders.
Exactly. So, that's like how.
It's not like you're going out.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going out. You're getting away from the wife and kids.
Right.
Or whatever.
Right.
Having a couple beers after work. It's different.
Right. It's like, yeah, you want to create kind of a unique space where people can kind of escape a little bit and just have fun, but it's like. We're all just
you're still at work.
Just on your
you're still in the office essentially.
In the same place.
Yeah. You're still at the office.
Yeah, it's like it's tough. I think
events were kind of our getaway. We would bring team members to events and that was kind of a good chance to sit down, have some drinks, talk about not work stuff.
Yeah. Do you miss events?
Yes and no. I was thinking today I really miss events, but then tomorrow I'll be like, I don't miss events.
I'm exactly the same. I'm exactly the same. It's a relief to not have to be, you know, the weird person for not going to an event, you know, because like I skipped a few events that I normally would go to in the last couple of years. And it's like a relief that like I don't have to explain myself to anybody. But
it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's expensive. I'm an introvert. It's going out. It's kind of a little difficult. So it's but at the same time, I'm kind of like, oh man, you know, I really could just be in Vegas drinking a beer right now. That'd be really nice.
Yeah. I just want to be hanging out with you, TJ, Ali, smoking some cigars.
Yeah, just hanging out.
Dude, smoking some cigars. Nice. That'd be
really
great.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw this like Tony Robbins event. I'm not like a Tony Robbins guy or anything, but just the
I saw that on Twitter. Yeah, the screens.
The format of because they're a live events company. That's what they do. And so the format of it was wild. They have these like floor to ceiling, I don't know, maybe 20 feet high screens. And then all of the individual videos for like, I don't know how many people, 12,000 or I don't know, a large number of people were on these screens. And then the speakers were in this like stage where they're moving around, they're talking, and then the whole time they're seeing this like wall of faces. And it was the production value was wild. It was like
that's what I was like the virtual events I've seen, they lose the audience. So like when I'm on the virtual events and I'm watching the speakers talk, like I want an audience view for some reason.
Right.
I want to see people's reactions. I want to feel like
Right.
I'm part of a crowd. Like I want to see myself. And I haven't, I think that's really missing. And I haven't seen any platforms doing that. Maybe it's a really difficult thing to do.
It was interesting to see that innovation, because I think there's going to be tons of innovation around this and things that are going to come up that we're going to be, you know, we didn't expect, in order to basically bring people closer together in different ways. Now that the whole entire world is focused on this, sort of solving this problem.
We're trying with Meet Magento New York. Marcia's been doing months of research and evaluating.
Oh, really?
I think they've evaluated, like what, 90 platforms, or they've evaluated a lot of platforms.
Wow.
So trying to find a really good way to do it. They have a really high, well, Jamie set a pretty high bar, man. So the bar's been set.
I heard some really good things about that. The UK one.
Yeah, we want to do a good event, and but it's tough. And a lot of those systems are new too. Like they're not tested, battle hardened. Like
right.
They're still really figuring things out. They just got a bunch of funding, and like the features aren't all there. So like you're finding that out as you get into
bunch
it.
Of
like
vaporware, bunch of event.
Yeah, there's a lot of vaporware.
It
does miss something. I think the audience is a large part of that. I've always believed the events was just the in-person conversations that you didn't expect to happen, or the benefit to me. Talks are cool. You know, people put a lot of work into talks, and there's some really good ones. But it's really the conversations, the hallway track, I guess, as it's called.
I heard somebody told me recently that the Magento, or the Adobe online event that happened recently, that they really liked the way the sort of hallway track stuff was done. I didn't see it myself, but they said that felt like pretty good.
So the MA one, I tried to message people, and you were supposed to be able to do that, but they didn't get notifications. I didn't get notifications when they messaged me, so I wasn't able to directly connect with anybody.
That's weird.
And then they had individual rooms, which was cool, that you could go into, but I was kind of weirded out. I went into one and I had my video on. It's like, it asks you if you want to share your video. And I was like, yeah, I'll share my video. And I'm thinking there's like 20 other people with video, but it turns out it was like me and one other dude. And like, we're both kind of like, what's going on? Are we on video? And then I found out later, like everyone else could see us, but we couldn't see them. And it turned into some like weird creepy fetish, like, I don't know, voyeur show. I don't know. It's hard to get right. It's hard to get right.
It's funny how something can go from just video to like feeling creepy because somebody doesn't have it on.
It felt creepy, and it's
man.
It felt creepy.
Yeah, and like on
I mean, when you're in an event, you can see them, they can see you. But when you're doing this remote stuff and you give people the option to have a camera or to turn on a camera or not turn on a camera, you like change the dynamic of it.
Yeah. Like if you call somebody and like you didn't discuss whether it's video or audio, and like one person has their video on, one person doesn't, it's like
Phil is like, Phil does the power play. He's always on video even when everybody's not on video.
That's the power move. Oh man. Yeah. So, well, I think I get your thing on meetings. I think it actually makes sense. Even though a lot of developers and stuff, hate meetings.
I hate them too.
Yeah.
I hate them too.
You're big on meetings.
I wish we had less of them, but I really feel strongly they're important.
Yeah. I feel like there's,
at least for us at this stage,
I feel like there's like a magic formula for having like the perfect type of meeting that could theoretically be figured out, where it's a combination of that human connection, just having fun, and also talking about the things that really are ideal to talk about synchronously. And like, if we can get to that, that'd be cool. But obviously so many meetings are just like not at all that, and they're just like,
No, I think people complain about meetings that there's no clear leader. They're not taking notes. They don't have an agenda. They don't control the conversation.
Nobody's listening. Like, you say anybody's
Nobody's
name.
listening.
Sorry, I was on mute.
People are on their phones.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference if you run a meeting properly. A well-run meeting is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Well said. Man, let's see. So I guess we've been going for, what is it now? For almost 45, 30. Doing math in public is never a good thing. 44 minutes. Oh, cool. We got some time. Left. Are you good on time? Do you have a hard?
Yeah, I'm good on time. Sure.
Sweet, man. So let's see. I'm just looking at this doc, see if was there anything else. I'm in one of those moments where I completely like lost the train of thought on what to.
You can link it up maybe in the show notes or whatever, and if anybody wants to reference it or whatever, it's totally
perfect,
fine.
Perfect. Yeah, this is a good outline. Yeah, no, I think we've covered
chat ops.
Chat ops. Okay,
we'll go back to chat
ops.
We write Slack bots.
Nice
to do things that you can interact with. So like we have one that checks RIs, Amazon RIs, reserved instances.
Oh, okay.
You can run commands and check RIs for different regions, and it'll return information. So we have a lot of like controls from Slack. It's pretty neat. You can do some pretty cool Slack bots to automate things that you would otherwise have to, which is nice because then other people can see it, other people can use it. It's easy to do.
What are some of the bots that you guys have?
We have a lot of informational bots that you can get information from. So like all the system governors are bots that report into Slack. Pretty much every system we have reports into Slack, to be honest. Even external systems like FedEx APIs, Lexicon has a really nice shipping monitor that will return if shipping is down. Or Cloudflare, we have Cloudflare's status page sending updates through RSS feeds to us. But interactive bots, like the RI bot. We have a couple other bots. I can't think of what they are offhand. Other teams use.
What's a system governor? I don't think I've heard that term before.
We have watching over Stratus because Magento is so crazy, and we let customers do whatever they want with it. We have a lot of monitors in place looking for runaway database queries that are locked, long running, or if database queries back up for a long period of time. Or we have a set of boundaries of where a customer's set of containers on Stratus should be operating within. And when they go without it, the bots talk to us, send us information, warnings, and then they'll take action. Like maybe they'll kill a query or restart MySQL or things of that nature to keep the site alive.
That's cool.
So like the bots are watching customer sites to ensure that they're up, and then they'll take action to try to keep them alive and save customers from themselves.
Right. Is that like a supervisor? Like what's the
that would be a better term for it. A supervisor.
Okay.
We have different supervisors on Stratus.
Yeah, nice. So just a bunch of monitoring bots and stuff like that. Dude, I tried to build a Magento chatbot once that just like you train
GT3, man. Should try it again.
Oh my god,
really
dude!
Good.
Wow, GPT-3, dude. This is
that's GPT. That's man. I'll never know whether to believe a Twitter user ever again.
Yeah.
I'll never know if a comment on my blog post is real ever again.
It doesn't even make any sense. I don't understand it. I applied to get a access to it. Probably never will, but I don't even get it. I see these things and it's like, wait a second. So how did it generate that exactly? Did it generate a few different things? You picked the best one. I mean, it can create.
I don't know.
I don't get it.
I haven't seen. I'm wondering if you could generate marketing copy for me, because I would love
I'm pretty
that.
sure.
I'd love to just
I'm
like
pretty sure you can, dude.
just generate marketing copy, boost my SEO on the site.
You build a product and then you
Just
just
crank out blog
you build a
articles.
product, it like reads the code and you go generate marketing site and it just does everything perfectly.
Generate marketecture. I learned that word yesterday. Marketecture. Maybe GPT-3 or
I gotta look this up.
marketecture.
Marketecture?
Yeah, it was an Adobe.
Oh, like
Yeah,
architect, like
this.
architecture, but marketecture is a portmanteau of
But marketecture.
the words of marketing and architecture. Okay. The term is applied to any form of electronic architecture perceived to have been produced purely for marketing reasons. Oh.
So here's the context. It was an Adobe Experience Cloud update. Recent customer research has informed some refinement of our Adobe Experience Cloud plus CXM messaging. Several key new innovations have also led to an update of the Adobe Experience Cloud marketecture.
That was an official communication and like a
that's something.
What?
But apparently that's a thing. Like if you go to Google Images and you Google marketecture, you get some pretty cool marketing diagrams of I guess, just marketing and sales stuff of not real technical, but like customer benefits. I guess it would be like diagrams of customer benefits for different customer profiles and markets.
God, this is such
I was like marketecture. Oh my God. Like
this is such a marketing word.
Is that real?
Is that real? Yeah. Like let's just plug that into GPT-3. Like the latest, I think the way it works is you
probably could.
You seed it with an initial sentence and then it generates. So it's like, it's not like you say, hey, GPT-3, do this for me. You seed it with like a sentence and then it,
I've seen people seeding it with tweets from a user, and then it would write tweets like that user, and they were like pretty good.
Yeah,
off only like 10 or 15 tweets as a seed.
Dude, I saw this one that this guy posted a tweet. I can't remember what it was, but it was sort of very cryptic. It was like hard to understand what he meant. And somebody took it and literally plugged it into GPT-3 and expanded on it into like a few paragraphs. And then it literally explained this guy's tweet. And the guy retweeted it and he was like, it's explaining my tweet better than I could have. Like,
yes, it's pretty damn good.
Redonkulous.
Did you see it writing code?
I did. I don't even understand. Like, I don't get how is it doing? Like, I didn't even think that was related to language.
People ask it too crazy. It's like the way to fool it though. Like it can't pass a Turing test. There's an article where somebody was working with it and was asking it like how many poozles in a kerfluffle, and it'll like try to answer it. So it doesn't know like nonsense. It'll just it'll try to answer everything. So you can totally like it'll never say that's a stupid question.
Right.
Go away. Like it'll
right.
So it's not human, but if it recognized like bullshit from real things like that,
but like that's an interesting one though too, because like I can think of people who whether it's a language barrier or whatever, if you said that to them, they would do the same thing. They would think it was a literal question, right? So
maybe
it's there's this one AI podcast I would listen to, and I think they would start it out by saying, what is intelligence? I think they would say, what is artificial intelligence? And you'd hear people try to define it. And it was like, it was everybody defines it a little bit differently. Nobody has a real crisp, clear definition of it.
Really, we can't even measure our own intelligence accurately. Yeah. We have tests, but I don't think that they're really, I don't know. I'm not an expert on the subject, but what I have read is like, we really can't test accurately for it.
Like IQ tests and stuff.
So, yeah. Like an IQ test, right?
Yeah. I don't know how we got onto this, but Oh, chatbots. Chatbots.
You tried to write a
Yeah,
chatbot.
I should rewrite the
with,
Magento one in GPT-3. That'd be hilarious.
with the Slack bots. We have a couple other Slack bots that are interactive.
Really?
I can't remember what they do offhand though. Yeah. I love that stuff. I would have more of them if we had the resources to write them and maintain them for all kinds of tasks. I love that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can see what people did. They're easy to work with. Anybody can follow it.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many people would really benefit from chat offs with Slack bots and stuff.
Yeah.
We think they're cool and fun.
Yeah, they're kind of nifty. But
it's not just communications though. Like status messages, system messages is really big.
Dude, did you guys with the Cloudflare outage? Did you guys get nailed by that? You mentioned like the Cloudflare status thing, like.
Oh man, our alert system, like we monitor customer sites up or down, and we had a flood of those come in, and we had to shut our monitoring down because we thought we did something wrong. We're like, oh no, like we've got like an error in our monitoring system. Or well, first instinct is like we have a system problem, and then we're like, no, our system's not operational. We have a monitoring problem. Oh no, shut the monitoring down. And then I see like, okay, no, like we have Cloudflare status comes into the to one of the channels, and we saw it there, and we're like, oh, okay, no, they have something going on. That's when we realized a lot of customers were using Cloudflare DNS, and our monitors couldn't get to their sites because of that.
Dude, that must have been so. Oh, sorry, I was just.
Okay. Oh, I almost had a heart attack. Man. I thought, oh, that's my worst nightmare.
I'm laughing, but it's actually sucks. I'm like, do you like? How soon are you getting notifications about that stuff? Like, is it blowing you up personally right away, or does the team get it first? Like, that's got to be like so stressful.
Team gets it first. Team gets it first because it goes into our help desk. So the people who are on the help desk, they see the tickets open up to the customers, and they immediately know, okay, something's going on. And then they report, they start talking about it in the internal channels, and then I see that usually right away. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty much watching channels a lot. So I'll see that pretty quick. Yeah.
Nice. That's brutal.
But we can't alert on sites being down as quickly as what customers can themselves, really. If you set up a monitor, like we always advise customers to have their own site monitoring, because we don't know what you're doing. If we set our monitor thresholds to like 1 minute and your site's down for 1 minute, and then we have to assign a person to it and react to it and find out what's going on, you might be just doing a deploy. So we don't really know that. So, but you as the user would know that, and you would know if that's a real monitoring alert or not. The worst is when customers put our ticket system in their own monitoring systems. We have a lot of customers that do that, and then
like they iframe it into their system, you mean? Or
no, they just put our support email address as a contact at their own Pingdom account or whatever, and then set the threshold super low, like 30 seconds.
Right.
They're like,
but you guys disabled. You guys for a while had email-based support, and then you changed it to ticketing. That was probably part of the reason, I'd imagine.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons. So what we did was you can't open a new ticket without going through the portal. Yeah. So you can't just email us and open a new one, which was partly that, but also partly because we want people to
put in the severity.
More information specifically.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you got to get.
Severity, what component is it? And then most importantly, and this is probably the biggest reason for it, is do we have read access or do we have write access to your
I like that option.
Stuff?
Yeah.
So support knows like it's just read access. They won't touch anything. They'll just report what they find. If you give us read access, we'll go in and we'll try to save the day and just give it a heroic effort. But some people don't want that. They don't want us touching systems. They just want us to report. No,
that's a good little feature. That was wild, man. It's crazy how centralized the internet is with services like Cloudflare.
We see a lot of we see a lot of Cloudflare status updates. They're always having every day some problem in some region somewhere. I like their service for the bot
Oh
blocking.
yeah.
I think it's really
Yeah, yeah,
cool
yeah.
to protect, people trying to hammer Magento sites, and some customers get into that a lot more than others. And I think Cloudflare is a great idea for them. What, to just have it on all the time? I would not do that.
Mm-hmm.
I would
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Sweet, man. Well, oh dude, the other thing I wanted to maybe we need to do a follow-up to talk about the like developer tooling for Stratus, like dev environments and stuff. I remember we talked about that a little before, and I can't remember what the status of that is, but I thought it was super interesting how you were going to make it easy for people to deploy containers or whatever locally and sync up and stuff like that.
Yeah, we're testing it now. God, pandemic's kind of slowed us down. It's wow. Like I think I had a tweet before, like, this is not remote work. Like right now, this is
It's just
not,
madness.
it's different.
Yeah.
It's much harder for everybody, even us. So we are slowed down. And we've it's not on hold. We're still working on it. But I'd say we're about almost 80-90% of the way done. And we were at the point where we wanted agencies to come in and start testing it. But now I think we're waiting to do some other features like zero downtime deploys, actually blue-green deployments. We moved that up ahead of the Stratus 3 release. And yeah, it's good. It has the developer tooling, CI/CD pipelines, really focused around instance creation. So you can come in and just create ephemeral instances, which is nice with ZFS, because you don't have to like do a full MySQL dump out and MySQL back in.
What's ZFS?
You also don't have to. Yeah, so ZFS is a file system that allows you, it's a copy on write file system, so you can really quickly do snapshots, especially of things like MySQL.
Okay.
So instead of like you can actually do MySQL replication with ZFS snapshots. And we do that. Like one of the things we implemented was all the customers now have a MySQL HA. So they have a second MySQL container that's doing passive replication that's near real time, just milliseconds delayed. So we always have a second copy of the database data.
Nice, dude.
We do that with CFS. So yeah, that's the big thing, like being able to create a dev copy in under a minute versus having to wait 10, 15, 20 minutes to get a dev copy or a resynced copy. So we have a whole new app essentially around managing those instances, cloning them, and then the deployments of those with running commands for your CI/CD and zero downtime. So like with blue-green deployments, instead of doing like Kubernetes rolling updates, we've moved to like a blue-green.
Dude, I just Googled blue-green deployment. I'm like, what the hell is that? And it's interesting. So there's two identical production environments called blue and green. And so at any one time, production traffic is only going to one of those. So it's like literal zero downtime deploys.
Yeah, we switch over to it. So we will hold. So like Magento Cloud does, like they do something similar, but they hold. Well, it's not really similar. They hold all the network connections. They just hold your network connections and hope your deploy takes less time than those network connections are going to time out. And then this is like we actually copy all the code, get all the containers up and running in active state, and then we just switch the network traffic over to it. So it's one of the really cool things you can do in Kubernetes versus Kubernetes rolling deployments, which is how it works now, where we take down, I think, like 2 or 3 at a time, and then bring up 2 or 3 more PHP FPM bots to move through it. We have a whole separate set now, which should work a lot better.
Nice, dude.
So yeah, it's cool. It's coming. It's really good features, and I've been talking about it for a long time. We put a lot of work into it, and it'll be really
nice,
cool,
man.
So.
Yeah, that'd be cool to look at that at some point. Nice, man. Anything else that you want to get in here before we wrap this baby up?
No, I think that's it. If anybody has any questions, feel free to hit me up on Twitter. I think it's a lot easier to answer specific questions than doing just a general because we've been in it for so long, it's really hard to know what other people are struggling with so much and what's important to them. But if they have any questions, just hit me up on Twitter, or just Eric V. Hileman. Yeah, happy to answer any questions and link the outline up, and maybe that'll help someone.
Perfect.
And
sweet, man.
Appreciate the opportunity, Cam.
Yeah, man. Good chat. Appreciate it, dude. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Remember to like, subscribe.